There is no contact at that time on any level. In the 70s there was, but and there was the initiation of two priests from Iran, Ganzibra Jabbar and his son, Ganzibra Salah, who is now here based, and that was in 1979. But after that there was no contact whatsoever, and the Iraq-Iran war being just started. Iraq entered Muhammara city, Khurramshahr, and many Mandaean used to live there, and so there was a curiosity and problems within the two countries, which is also reflected on the community in both countries. So they developed their own. Everyone developed their own way of dealing with religion, community, and way of life. So it seems that the two priests being trained in a short time by the Iraqi priests, Ganzibra Abdullah at that time, who initiated them into priesthood. He didn't train them for a long time, but they took his, way of practicing the religion and performing the rituals, which I believe he didn't spend much time with them for certain reasons. So they are by their own, they left by their own. And that's create a big challenge for the two priests. There were also Abdullah Khafaji, who's from the other family we talked about, also the grandfather of Termida Rafid in the Netherlands, the father of his mother. So he was the only priest in Iran before the consecrating of the two priests. And there were disintegration within the community, and there is little politics at the time. That was one of the reasons why the priest Sheikh Abdullah or Ganzibra Abdullah, Sheikh Sam, took that initiative to initiate a priest who are not from these two families. I'm sorry to say that, but that was one of the reasons why they initiate the father, Ganzibra Jabbar, and then later his son, Ganzibra Salah. I think before Ganzibra Abdullah moved to Baghdad, there was a problem. During the life of Ganzibra Abdullah, Ganzibra Sam, who's the very old man in Baghdad.
Excuse me.
We got two Abdullahs.
Right.
One who's the head of the community at that time, the father of Dr. Abdul Jabbar Abdullah. His name is Ganzibra Abdullah Ganzibra Sam, who's from the Mandawi family, one of the families. So yes. And the other one was a Termida at that time, who became later the head of the community and moved. He lived in Basra, the son of Ganzibra Najm. So the changes start from there, in fact, from Basra. Always the reform always start from Basra city, not from Baghdad, and not from the headquarter of the Mendayan community in Baghdad. I think it is because people of Basra is well educated, open to the world. They have different attitude, very kind people. They have certain characters, and they are open to the world, open to education. Even when the Portuguese came, when the French came, when the English came, it's always through Basra, from the port of, Basra city. No, he's not well educated. I mean, he was young at that time in the 50s. And at that time, the Communist Party was very influential in the Mandarin community. And many Mandarin youth was in his age. So he has been influenced as well by the communists, or he was a friend of them, let us say. I can't say he was a communist. I don't think so. According to what I heard from my uncle, when there was like protest or something, so he used to go with them and say slogans of said by Communist Party as well. Of course, when the Ba'ath Party came, this party influenced everyone, including, unfortunately, Ganzibra or Rish Amma Abdullah. He become also in the party, which is not really an act should not be done by any priest to become part of political parties, because he represents a religious aspect, not a political aspect. But this has happened before he became a head of the Mandayans. Since he was in Basra city, he's been part of the Ba'ath Party. So the problem started when Sheikh Najim, Ganzibra Najim, passed away in the 70s, I think mid of 70s. He was a Ganzibra, and Rishama Abdullah was only a Termida at that time. So the head of the Mandarin community, Ganzibra Abdullah, Ganzibra Sam, came to the funeral, according to what I heard anyway, to Basra. And after, part of the discussion was that Termida Abdullah at that time should not do a marriage ceremony, because only the Ganzibra could do this. And there was a frustration by the Termida Abdullah, because it was his funeral, father's funeral. Yes, in fact, two changes happened during the time of Termida Abdullah before he became, the head of the priest. One is he started to do marriage ceremonies while he was at Termida. That was in the 70s, 1970s, after the death of Ganzibra Najim. And he's been supported by the Mandayans of Basra, who used to live in a very large number in that city, one of the biggest Mandayan concentration in the world at that time. And the other reform was, at that time, during his father, they established the baptismal pool. This is the two things. And the Mandayan temple, or the Beit Menda, were in front of the river, anyway, on the river bank, but there is like a street crossing in front of it. So they tried to, at the beginning, they tried to bring the water from the river to the swimming pool or to the baptismal pool. But later, that river became very polluted. So it's not suitable for baptism. So they use the tap water, running tap water. And that was a big shift in the Mandaean history, to use the tap water not only for baptismal use, but also for the lay Mandaean to use the tap water in religious activities, in rituals, like when they kill animals,